The Chiropractic Philanthropist, episode 260.
I'm picking up cans to put in this plastic sack to take to town to get money for gas. And I remember picking a can up, looking at it and going, what the hell are you doing?
Starting your own practice is hard for many chiropractors. It's riddled with both struggles and successes. But here at the Chiropractic Philanthropist, we make it easy by having chiropreneurs and entrepreneurs share their struggles and lessons learned in life and business so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. And now here's your host, Dr. Ed Osborne.
By now you should know that if you have not tapped into social media for your marketing, you have truly fallen behind. There are overloads of information out there about how you can do it, but it's tough for you to find the time. So this is it. Seriously, Doc. This is what we as chiropractors have been waiting for. Qualified new patients contacting you with no added effort. 3S Chiropractic Systems is the company run by chiropractors with years of web and social media marketing experience, offering you the complete, affordable, done-for-you package. Doctors are receiving 10 to 45 new patient requests every month, so the service is swooping across the globe and is geographically exclusive, so you find out right now if your area is still available. They offer full money-back guarantee for the first month, so there is no risk. Apply at 3schiropracticsystems.com/TCP to make sure you don't miss out. Now let's get to a truly inspiring discussion with Dr. Dustin Behn. Dustin, how you doing today?
Doing awesome, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I love your radio voice. This is perfect for doing a podcast on TCP today. You have this amazing voice.
I have a radio voice and a DJ voice too, so I'm not sure which one's going to come out today.
So, I mean, I've been kind of working, I know you, I've been following you probably well before you ever became, part of CLL group, and we'll probably talk maybe a little bit about that today too. But, tell those of us, or those out there that don't know you, a little bit about you. So as a chiropractor, but also as a person as well.
Yeah, I was thinking this when I was getting ready. I'm like, how when you look back on your life, everything seems so clear. Like all the shit, all the success, everything comes together to where it is now. And when you go through it, it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to get through this. For me, it started off a little different. I was one of those kids where my parents were very supportive. I'm an only child. And when I was probably 4, 5, 6, 7, my parents were big into network marketing. And I would always go to the conferences with them. I would go to when they would go deliver what they would call the plan to people, so the sales calls. And every time I remember, because I would sit in the back seat with my ears covered, they would be listening to Zig Ziglar or Doug Weed or something motivational that I was like, who is this Southern speaking guy who's speaking really fast and is boring the hell out of me? And which is interesting because now I'm like the Inspired Nation guy, the podcast guy, the Mr. Motivation, everything comes full circle, right? So, a little bit more about me. I practice now currently in a small town in Iowa called Jessa. Married to an amazing woman, have 3 kids. The road to get here, what got me into chiropractic college, so to speak, was when I was in my junior year of high school, was playing football. I played every possible sport, love sports. That was my thing, my identity at that time. And it was a rainy, dark, cloudy day. I was a running back. And I remember standing in the backfield, receiving the ball, looking forward, and my lineman fell down flat on his face, and the defensive lineman jumped over him, came back, put his helmet directly in my chest. I fell back, landed on my back, and was staring up at the sky like, holy shit. Defensive lineman stood up. I'm still standing there, laying on the ground going, I can't feel my arm. Couldn't feel it, couldn't lift it, couldn't move it. It was just dead. And at the time, everybody's still jumping around, the defensive lineman, high-five and everything, and I'm just scared at this point. So once they settled down, they realized I was in agony, and coach came over. They picked me up, and seriously, I could not feel, move, lift my arm. They called my mom. She took me out to the hospital, and they did their normal thing that they do. They gave me muscle relaxers, anti-inflammatories, and put my arm in a sling and said, if it's not better in a few days, come back, we'll do some further testing. And remember, sports is my thing. So the next few days of school, 3 days into this now, still can't feel anything in my arm, still dead, can't lift it, can't move it. And my best friend, who'd been going to the chiropractor since I could remember when he was really little for migraines, said, go to the chiropractor. And I remember looking at him going, well, dude, obviously it doesn't work. You're still going. And he's like, you don't understand. Just go. All right. So I showed up at this chiropractor's office with my arms completely across my chest, just like, you don't know anything. You're second rate. This is going to be horse rash, whatever. Went into his office. He sat me in a chair and just explained that, nerves branch out, they control things. And me being the cocky little kid I was, said, you don't understand. It's not my back that hurts. It's my arm that's dead. It's like, just trust me. All right, whatever. So he sat me in a chair, lined up now I know, a Gonstead adjustment, cervical chair, sat me in a chair, adjusted me, and it was like a lightning bolt, seriously, went through my fingertips, arm came awake, and I was like, whatever you just did, that was the coolest thing. What do I do to get into this? Because seriously, academics was not my thing, sports was my thing. But at that point, I decided that I'm getting called into doing this. So he went to Northwestern Chiropractic, so he kind of had a push for me to go up there. So I went to school up there, and at the time, fortunately, because things work out the way they're supposed to, my wife started working for a chiropractor up there who was high volume, saw the Minnesota Vikings, was just very, he got it. I remember the first few days I got to be a patient with there, and he had an open room concept where it was 8 tables in one room. And the first day I'm in there, I'm laying on my back, and I look to my left, and I see this kid who's probably 10 years old, just like curled up in a ball, just making this noise. And I look up at the ceiling because he's had a start on her back, and I'm thinking, probably doesn't have arm pain, probably doesn't have headache pain, probably doesn't have low back pain. Why the hell is this kid here? Because that was my impression of chiropractic to that point. So got home later that night and asked my wife, I'm like, what was going on with that kid next to me? And she said he'd had adverse reactions to vaccines. And when he first came in, he was totally flexed forward, wouldn't talk, wouldn't do anything. But since he'd been getting adjusted, was actually starting to open up and communicate. And I was like blown away. I'm like, what? What the heck does that have to do with chiropractic? She said, talk to, and the doctor's name was Dr. Fargo, Dr. Tim Fargo up there. He said, Doctor, talk to him and he'll explain some things. So I remember I set the meeting up. Tim and I, Dr. Fargo and I went into this room, and he said, all right, here's the deal. Dustin, you have 2 choices. The next 3 years that you have at Northwestern, you're going to end up on one of 2 slabs. And here's your options. Number 1, you can take away a pain, you can take away a symptom, but realistically, a medication is going to do that a whole lot quicker and cheaper than you can. Like, all right. He goes, or number 2, you can change a life. But if you choose to do that, it's going to take a whole lot more work on your part, but you will never work a day in your life. Fortunately, I chose option number 2. That led me down to Tucson, Arizona, joined a large family volume practice, had the time of my life down there, was kind of boot scooting around, enjoying things. I remember my RCA came into me. I was 30 years old at the time, and she walked in. Her name was Stacy. She walked in and said, Dr. Behn, do you have any idea how lucky you are right now? And you don't see the picture when you're living in the paint, right? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you're 30 years old. You have an incredible wife. Your kids are healthy as can be. They're incredible. You're part of this practice. You just bought a brand new Jaguar. And do you have any idea how lucky you have it? I'm like, all right. And at this point, I kind of started brushing my own back like, you're right. This is pretty cool. So we decided to expand the office down there. And I was an associate, and moving forward, we decided to partner into this other office. And it, needless to say, it did not work out. Everything crashed. We had collection calls coming to the office for me. We had collections calls at home. I just went into a very dark place from where things had started, where I was looking to change the world, to what the hell did I just do? So we left that situation, moved back to Iowa, and we were living in my wife's parents' basement for about 3 months because we were trying to decide where we wanted to practice and all that. And there was a day I was out out in their dairy barn. And this was probably 2-3 months into living in their basement. I'm walking out in their dairy barn, and I'm picking up cans to put in this plastic sack to take to town to get money for gas. And I remember picking a can up, looking at it, and going, "What the hell are you doing?" And all of this stuff started to fall into play. And I'm like, where were you trying to get to, and where did you fall off the path? And it turned into, I wasn't being me. I was trying to be someone else. So my story revolves around authenticity with chiropractors. So that's kind of my long-winded story there.
I love it though. I'm going to pull a couple things from this, Doc. And one of the things I'm going to pull first of all is this isn't the first time I've heard of Dr. Fargo, which is interesting to me.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
Is he big? I've probably had 3 doctors send me messages in the last 2 years or year and a half saying, "Hey, you got to get this guy, Dr. Fargo, on TCP." So I know he's out there doing great things. I've tried to contact him. It's interesting though that you bring him up, because I'm like, oh, I know that name. He's making a difference. Yep. Yeah, he's saving chiropractors out there one at a time, it seems. So one thing too I'm pulling from this is I love this quote you said. You don't see the picture when you're living in the paint, right?
Yeah, very true.
Or painting, or I guess it's something like that. I mean, it is very true. It's very easy, I think, that for a lot of people, especially chiropractors, like when you are doing it, when you don't have gratitude for what you're actually, the position you're in, or you should have more gratitude, or maybe we should have more gratitude for when we are experiencing success. But, I think back even to myself when I was crushing it in practice back in like 06 or 07. And when I think back then, and I think of how I was in such a state of momentum, but then I also think, oh man, I was so stressed out still too. Like, so you can still, but you don't really have the appreciation, I think, when things like that are happening. One thing what we love to do is also talk about quotes, affirmations. Do you have any words of meaning that you would like to share with docs today?
Yeah, kind of as I was going through all of that, and shortly after, I started just kind of looking around. I had never heard of podcasts, didn't know what they were. So I kind of got the phone, started looking around like, what is this podcast thing? And I came across one from Elevation Church with Pastor Stephen Furtick. And I was listening to it one day, and he said something that it was like a hatchet between the eyes. He said, "Stop comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel." And I heard that, and it was like, that is so true with not just my life, but I think a lot of chiropractors, specifically getting just out of school. You see all these docs that are high volume, all the success, and you're like, oh, that's going to happen like overnight. And you forget that it takes time. Things have to build in order for that to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. Your time will come. You have all this behind the scenes stuff going on. Just stop looking at the highlight reel, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just did a video not too, like, I don't know, was it yesterday, on inadequacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, how it's very easy, I think, well, certainly in the online world, in online entrepreneurial world, to feel inadequate, because you look at someone else and you're like, oh my God, look what they're doing and accomplishing. How come I, like, you feel inadequate when you compare yourself. Sometimes that's a good thing. I think it can make, it fuels my fire a bit to go, okay, I got to work harder. But then also in the same respect, it can be a bad thing, can't it?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the opposite. I would start a program with a group of friends, and all of a sudden I would start resentment kicking in, or I would get frustrated. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why is this not happening for me? And it came back to looking, being real with myself and being like, do the work. You can't expect to get the result if you don't do the stuff that they're saying to do. So that was kind of my deal.
And so, I mean, what if from the takeaway from that time, where you're walking around at the barn, picking up the cans, trying to get the gas money together, and you came to that realization about authenticity. What would you say about the entire lesson, though? What would be the big picture lesson that you learned from that entire experience that was so humbling, it seems, for you?
Yeah. Honestly, I think the vision that we had wasn't clear. We were maybe going in 2 different roads, but we thought we were on the same path. And for me, looking at it, I like family, I like support, I like all that stuff. So as far as everything else, it's kind of dessert on the cake, so to speak. I I looked at it as, what am I doing for my family? Everything seemed to be about me. Me. I'm going to these conferences. I'm helping these people. I'm doing this. Well, what was I doing for my family? Not a lot at that time. I was being very selfish. So that was kind of what I took away from that.
And what would you say like today? I mean, how is practice different today for you? What is it like for you every time that you go in today?
Now it's more, I don't care. I have identified more who I am and trying to bring that to the front step and stopping to look at the outside world that's going on with other docs. And that can be a downside and a positive at the same time. It's good to look at what everybody else is doing and learning from them. For me, sometimes I need to be me, because it turned into I was trying to be so many other people. I would join a practice management group and try to dress the same way, do my hair the same, all this stuff the same way. I'm like, that's not me. What am I doing? So I had to step back and be like, all right, what do I like? And starting from the ground floor and be like, all right, I like fun. So number one, we got Jimmy Buffett music blaring in the office. Number two, I like to be just laid back. So I got typically flip-flops and shorts and Hawaiian shirts. It's very laid back. And some of the docs out there like, what the hell are you doing? That's just me. And it works for me. See a lot of kids and they appreciate that. And sometimes I'll accidentally wearing like a pair of, a dress up and they're like, what are you doing? So it's kind of become my identity.
Yeah, I think that shows too, doesn't it? I mean, it's so interesting how when you're kind of painting that picture, use that analogy again, but you painted that picture and it's like, it was exactly the same experience for myself. I went from wearing suits in practice to, basically, just a button-up shirt to then it was the transition to t-shirts and jeans and those kind of things. And I always had this concept in my mind of like, I had to have a certain appearance of like a professional appearance, but I think it really just comes across as confidence. So if you have the confidence and you have trust with people and competence, then what you wear on the outside didn't really matter, and you're having fun.
Yeah, and I tell people, like, if it ever changes how I adjust, let me know, because otherwise you want me to be as comfortable as possible. So they're like, oh yeah, it's funny, Dr. Behn, haha. So it works in our office.
That's perfect. I love that. And so, I mean, right now, you have a great practice, wonderful family, and yet you're still building something outside of that, and you're still trying to inspire others. Tell us about this other project that you're working on.
Yeah, so moved back to Jessa File, which is a town of about maybe 2,500 people, mostly farmers, rural. And having come from, Minneapolis, where I was at school, down to Tucson, Arizona, back to here, coming from a high volume clinic down there to Jessup, first few weeks, I'm like, where the hell is everybody? Why are they not coming in to get adjusted? And I had to remember, you're from the Midwest. Their mentality is if it's not broke, don't touch it. So I had to go back out and be like, okay, it's all education. So I did every possible thing that I could to get my word out there as far as what we were trying to create. There's another doc in town, two different styles of practices, and that's totally fine. I just had to let them know what I stood for and what chiropractic was versus what they may have thought it was. If that answers your questions or not there.
Yeah, I mean, but you're even taking it further outside of your four walls too, and you've created a podcast, Inspired Nation. Tell our listeners a little bit about Inspired Nation.
Yeah, that was where I was going. I moved to the small community with the big mindset that I'm here to help people, and I was starting to feel like my voice was kind of getting, the volume was getting turned down. And I feel I have so much to offer and give to people with the experiences that I've been through, the things that I've learned in the backseat of that car, listen to Zig Ziglar, man. I had to find a way to do that, and started listening to the TCP podcast and loved it. And I'm like, what is this like? How hard, difficult is this? So decided to do the program, signed up for it, and it's been a smooth process. And essentially what the Inspired Nation podcast is all about is it's helping people who may feel stuck in their stuff. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They don't know what action steps to take. But it also helps people that are already successful, because there's a great content on there with interviews, monologues on inspirational, motivational things to get things going. A lot of the monologues you can listen to 5-10 minutes. The interviews are a little longer, but the monologues are designed for quick hitters. I got 5 minutes. What can I do to get my day boosted? So that's where the Inspired Nation came from.
And I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, every time I talk to someone who has created a podcast, not everyone has created a podcast, by the way, through TCP. I mean, there's other programs out there like John Lee Dumas has one. And I mean, honestly, I think nowadays you can actually, well, I have a free training. You can probably learn pretty much 90% of how to launch a podcast too through that. And what I constantly keep hearing from docs, especially that are doing it, is that it's a lot of fun. Are you having a lot of fun doing it?
That's a blast. Yeah, especially if I get the right person on there who just talks. I just sit back and let it. And I'm finding people will mention a book. I have books sitting over here that are just I have to go through because there's so much great content out there that I think a lot of times, specifically with chiropractic, we get so focused on the people that are on stage that those are the only voices that we hear. That there's so many other docs out there that just may not have, in quotes, the name, that have great information. That I think that's where the podcasts are coming out to help people to get their word out.
And so, like, if listeners like are feeling the pull, they want to go actually check out your podcast, check out the inspiration. How can they actually find you, Doc?
Yeah, website inspirednationonline.com. We have great interviews on there. There's some blogs on there, some pictures. Sign up for the newsletter on there. We'll send you some great information on weekly, kind of every Sunday night. I send out a little inspirational quote or something.
Yeah, I love by the way the images that you put out. Especially if someone starts following you on Facebook too, or following Inspired Nation, the imagery in the quotes, they're really cool for sharing. Really well done. I love the aesthetic. Cool. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take you, Doc. I'm going to actually put you in the TCP time machine. So we're going to send you back to a younger version of yourself. And this will be right after you came out of chiropractic college. You have all the life experience you have today, all the knowledge, and you meet your younger self. What would you say to that younger self?
I would go with disengage from the outcome and just be yourself. I think as I was coming out, it was, you have to see this. It was a number. You had to see this amount, this number of practice members. And I got so focused on that I missed the whole process of it. So I think just in disengaging from the outcome and just doing the daily things necessary to get to the outcome, see it, but don't focus on it. So just do the daily steps. That would be what I would go for. And be authentic, be yourself. Genuinely be yourself from the get-go. Don't try and be someone else or act like someone else or talk like someone else. Take their format and make it yours. That's what will make you successful.
Awesome advice. Awesome advice. I think I was speaking to someone just this week, and I was talking about how I defined myself by how many people I served in my practice every week.
Yep.
And I think as chiropractors, we often do that, almost to our detriment sometimes.
I think if we found a way to identify ourselves with the results as opposed to just the number of people, that may be a little different. Because you can have a large practice and not necessarily be seeing results. So
awesome. I love it. And so before we kind of wrap things up, I'm going to ask you for one final piece of advice, and that is an invaluable resource. So something that people should go listen to. So other than, they can certainly go into iTunes and check out Inspired Nation with you. But is there something that you would say, hey, check out this audiobook. Go ahead and actually pick up this book. So read this, or any other sort of tech resource that you think is invaluable, Doc should be checking out.
Yeah, when I go my daily run, I'm either listening to Warrior on Fire with Garrett J. White, Your Daily Revolution by Satama Gali. Book-wise, Greater is an awesome book by Stephen Furtick. The Slight Edge, Jeff Olson. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. That one will light you up. It's told in kind of a story form, but it's incredible information. That's one of my favorites.
Outstanding resources. And so listeners, you can head over to thechiropracticphilanthropist.com, and we're going to have a webpage dedicated to our discussion with Dr. Dustin Behn today. Did I say that right, Doctor?
You got it. Behn like pain, not like pain. You got it.
Don't worry, I'll edit that out. And so you can head over to thechiropracticphilanthropist.com. We're going to have a webpage dedicated to our discussion today. We'll have links to all the resources, and so you can actually even go to your mobile, Doc. Right now, you can expand open the notes on your mobile. Like 60% of us are listening to this podcast right now, and you can actually find the clickable resources and check them out. So, Doc, thank you so much for being on TCP today. Amazing discussion. I love the story and some amazing quotes and value today. Thank you for being on TCP, but also giving back.
Cool. Thank you so much for all you're doing and all you continue to do.
So you've heard the struggles, you've heard the successes, and this episode is done. But there's still so much more to come and so much more to learn. Head on over to the chiropracticphilanthropist.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive free practice building tips and strategies, including how to market your practice with your very own podcast and so much more. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Chiropractic Philanthropist.